In a season that's about development, not wins, no night could show that more than last night for the Utah Jazz. It's next on Locked on Jazz. Bum 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 pow.
You are Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz, giving you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. We come to you live for podcasting from Oklahoma City, where it is 6 degrees outside. Woohoo! And snowy and cold and clear and freezing looking outside. That's the story here. I am David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked on Jazz. It's your daily podcast in the Utah Jazz. Give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, all the things I just told you. And they were free and available on all podcasting apps and on YouTube. And we have a daily newsletter for you. It's pretty great. Thank you very much for tuning in and making Locked on Jazz your first listen today. And thank you so much to the everydayers who join us each and every day. What a night last night. I think I'm still stunned. Tonight's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use the code on Locked on NBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win. Get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, here's what we got planned on today's show. We'll wrap it up with some late game watch. Minnesota continues to struggle late, and they lost to Memphis last night. Dallas was interesting against Charlotte last night. Charlotte has a rising star that we saw firsthand. We'll touch on that. Walker Kessler's defense was pretty outstanding last night. Isaiah Collier and Keyonte continue to play together. Is this something the Jazz should be doing for the next 41 games? We will look at that. And we will look at how the Jazz did something historically that they had never, ever, ever, ever done before last night. And the closing five of 5 youngsters got to play 10 minutes and flopped, quite honestly. That's what they're supposed to do. But that's what it's all about this year. So let's start with that. The Utah Jazz last night led by 25. They were 256-1 in franchise history in games which they led by 25 and lost. And that is probably because we have never in franchise history ever had a season like this one. Maybe once, kind of, but never quite with this intention of developing our young players as the first and foremost concern over outcome of games. That's what we've been told from the opening press conference this season with Ryan Smith, Danny Ainge, and Justin Zanuck. It's hard to wrap your head around if you're a fan who gets into the game every day. It's probably hard to wrap your head around if you're a coach who's coaching. It's probably hard to wrap your head around if you're a player getting into the game. It's hard to wrap your head around. I'm with you. We turn on the game. They're keeping score, and the intention as a fan is to, yes, we won. So last night, our win is that for the final 10 minutes of the night, we put 5 youngsters on the floor together. Keontae-George, Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, and Walker Kessler. And in franchise history, we were 126-0, 126-0, 126 and undefeated. One of the only teams in the NBA with that status, with a 20-point lead at halftime. And we've now lost one. Again, because in our franchise history, this is a unique and different season. And last night is the capsule of this unique and different season than we've ever had ever before. Weird, strange, different, hard to wrap our head around. Got it. I'm with you 100%. Weird to call. But there are a bunch of things in last night's game that are worth talking about, taking, and looking at. And let's talk about the fact that our youngsters flopped, because that's actually what happens. When you throw 5 youngsters out on the floor together to close a basketball game, and their first time ever doing it, first time the 5 of them played together, they flop. And that's what our guys did last night. They flopped. Trying to find my little chart for you on this. Somehow it's not coming up where I thought it was. Maybe I overwrote it. So with 10 minutes, we got to play 10 minutes of clutch time last night. And in those 10 minutes, we put our guys on the floor, and not surprisingly, more than anything else, they couldn't score. Like, I'm not, like, is this surprising to anyone? That we put Isaiah Collier, Keyonte-George, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, and Walker Kessler on the floor for the final. And I think we're going to see that lineup a lot more with some variations of Cody Williams' ankle's all right. He sprained his ankle. Well, he might have been on the floor. I think we were going to see that variation. In the final 10 minutes of the game, Walker played all 10. Isaiah played 9. Kyle played 10. Elijah Arkless played a minute 20, and Bryce Sensabaugh played 9:19. We shot 5 of 20 from the field. We shot 1 of 11 from 3. Keyonte got to the free throw line 6 times. We did have 7 offensive rebounds, which shows hustle and desire. Walker had 3, Kyle had 2. We couldn't score. We actually only got outscored 21-6 in that stretch. It's not terrible. Not great, but not terrible. The lead had been lost by then. We led by 23 with 9 minutes left in the third, and by the time there was 10 minutes left in the fourth, New Orleans led. So they took a 23-point lead in an 11-minute span, and then that set up the clutch time basketball for our youngsters to be able to play. And Bryce goes 1 of 4, all of them from 3. Keyonte went 1 of 6, 0 of 4 from 3. Walker Kessler scores 2 field goals. Of our 5 field goals that night, Kyle has 1 of them. Walker has 2 of them. Coming to you from, like, Keyonte, the 5 field goals are a Walker Kessler post-up power play score, which was kind of cool. A Isaiah Collier, kind of, they're all, we lost our pace, we lost our tempo. Like, you got to learn those kind of things. Isaiah Collier has a off balance, puts the shoulder into, banks off a guy, tough look that he put in. And, you know, those are the baskets that we were able to get late in that game. It was right. But this is not surprising, but this is what the development is of what these guys have to go through and have to learn. And as I said, defensively, they weren't terrible. In fact, Walker was great. The Pelicans shot 7 of 18 from the field in the final 10 minutes of the game, 39%. They happened to hit 3 out of 6 from 3. We did a half-decent job on the defensive glass. Not great, but good, 70%. So this is what the season's about. Last night was a pretty good representation of it. They learned from it. Were they good? No. Do they get better from each experience? Hopefully. Walker was good. And that's, I think, the story of the season. Like, if you were to power rank our young 7, with Taylor Hendricks having kind of an unknown at this point, there's no question that you would probably say that your power ranking is Walker Kessler is the player of our young 7 guys that you're most certain is going to have a lengthy NBA career and be part of a viable, winning NBA franchise. So, last night's weird. We did something we've never done in franchise history that's negative in a season where we're kind of doing something we've never done in franchise history, and it kind of vibes. And maybe the most positive thing about it is we had 5 youngsters on the floor for the final 10 minutes who leave that night with a better understanding of something that Will Hardy talks about all the time. You just can never simulate those moments in that time. 2 interesting things are happening here. Isaiah Collier and Keyonte-George continue to play together. I want to dive into it because it's changing who Keyonte is. He still has massive step to make. And Walker Kessler's defense is really pretty great. It's next on Locked On Jazz. The Tuesday edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Hyundai, located at 4646 South State Street. Also located in Logan and in Linden. The Hyundais are just fabulous. We've bought 3 of them, probably on the verge of another one at some point because it seems like it's about time. That was a joke. We bought 2 Santa Fe's. We've bought the Ioniq 5, so I'm telling you the truth here. The Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6 are the electric cars that have been absolutely fabulous. If you've never driven an electric car, go check it out. It's pretty nice. Great driving experience. Nice to know that you don't have to go to the gas station. Pretty amazing experience overall. The SUV lineup, from the Palisade to the Santa Fe, which I'm driving right now, to the Tucson, to the Kona, Hyundai has all the answers on all of it. So if you're looking for a car right now, I suggest you include looking at Hyundai. And I suggest that you give me an email at dlock09@gmail.com, and I set you up with a VIP experience that you deserve at Murdoch Hyundai, located in either Linden, Murray, or up in Logan. Make sure you email me and let me know which one you're heading to have your experience at Murdoch Hyundai. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sportsbook of Locked On, the official sportsbook of the NFL. And FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets. If you win your first bet, that's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, variety of bets, keeps each game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. Visit FanDuel.com to get today started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel. The lines for this weekend are out in the AFC and the NFC championship games. The Commanders are a 6.5-point underdog to the Eagles, and the Chiefs are a 1.5-point favorite over the Bills. On those ones, Sunday at 1 and Sunday at 4:30 on both those. I'm watching the Australian Open whenever I can. That's taking place right now as well. Big win for Djokovic over Alvarez today. So you can bet on that as well. That's all at FanDuel.com. Thank you very much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps. We also have the daily newsletter, LockedOnDaily.com. Sign up for the Locked On Jazz. You got Empty the Noggin, maybe already today. Exclusively breaking down last night's game with immediate reaction and thoughts and collection of everything that took place. That's exclusive to the Locked On Daily newsletter. It's my bullet point breakdown of every game. Go check it out. Sign up for free at Locked On Daily and Locked On Jazz. All right. So Isaiah Collier is playing a lot more point guard, and Keyonte is playing a lot more off ball. And it's hard to look at. They haven't done it enough yet that I think we can really take a lot from it. And Collier bounced in and out of the starting lineup with Sexton returning. And I don't know how Will's supposed to navigate this. Isaiah has started in 7 of the last 8 games. And he's doing some incredible stuff. He has 9 or more assists in 5 of those. He has 3 straight games with 10 assists, which is the first Jazz rookie to ever do that. I think he is the first Jazz rookie since Trey Burke to have a 2010 game. So Isaiah Collier's doing some really interesting things. More he play. This is his growth right now is happening before our eyes. It's pretty awesome. And the more he plays, the more that growth happens. It is also sliding Keyonte over to the shooting guard position. And it hasn't been enough, right? Keyonte's only played 6 games since December 19th. Collier began starting on January 5th. So Keyonte's really only played 3 games since Collier started, and then he's really only played 2 games with Collier starting. So it's just too early to tell. But little signs of things I think are really interesting. One is that Keyonte's taken 20 free throws in the last 3 games. If Keyonte is going to be an effective offensive player, he's going to have to get to the free throw line. In his 3 prior games, he had been once. 10 free throws last night by Keyonte is awesome. That was the second time all year he's gone into double figures in free throws. The other one is the Keyonte's assist numbers are not going down when he plays off the ball. In fact, I'd argue he's a better passer when he's getting the ball on the run off the ball, which is really interesting. We'll watch. Last night was a terrible shooting night, largely because of the fourth quarter and some of that kind of stuff. I think he has to find a way to get, he's got to flush. I wrote this in Empty the Noggin last night. He's got to flush the bad shooting nights. We've just I don't know what our standard's going to be like. Okay, it was happening 1 every 3. If it happens 1 every 5, if it happens 1 every 10. But the way you flush the bad shooting nights is you go to the free throw line. And that's what I think he can do more if he's playing off the ball than on the ball. I don't know how you do this because Colin Sexton is still young enough. He's a part of everything that's going on. And Colin Sexton's really good. And Colin Sexton's having a great year. Part of me wonders if Colin Sexton should just come off the bench at this point and let Isaiah Collier and Keyonte-George play together and try to figure this out. Not necessarily because I think it's a backcourt of the future or that I think we should be dismissing Colin Sexton as part of the future, or because they both have been drafted more recently, but because I want to see Keyonte play off ball. And Isaiah Collier can play point guard in a way that Colin Sexton can't play point guard. And so therefore, the natural thing is if I want to see Keyonte play off ball minutes a lot against good teams, I need him to start to do it. And then I need Isaiah to play the point guard, and then Colin Sexton comes off the bench. I don't know that that's fair. In fact, I know it's not. But if I'm just looking at the final 41 games of this season and what I want for the Utah Jazz, that's probably what I want to see a lot of. Is Isaiah Collier starting at point guard, letting him continue this development. Because as we talked about on the program yesterday, his path to success is really clear if he can figure out how to shoot. I'm curious to talk to the coaching staff about one thing last night. And I'm guessing this is why Ron Boone did not give Collier a liability plus on postcast. There's about a 5 or 6 stretch game play period where Collier just goes one-on-one on every play. Now, he is out there with a limited offensive lineup and a limited group of scorers. And the Jazz have instituted more isolation play, willingly kind of calling in the middle of a play to go ISO to create advantages to get the offense going rather than doing everything off of actions. It's been a noticeable kind of change, and I'll look at the numbers and have it for you tomorrow, in the Jazz, in that they just feel as though there are times if they have the right matchup, they can go to work and it can create. And in fact, ironically, because I think this is the opposite of the way people think about it, the isolation play has increased ball movement. Some of the best plays we're seeing out of the Jazz, pop, 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 are often initial isolation, beat a guy, they have to rotate to help, boom, 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 boom. There were a few of them last night that were really, really good. And so and the pace early in last night's game was awesome. We probably should be talking about that more. That was another Collier, Keyonte. Having both of them on the floor together really accelerates the pace the Jazz play with. And gets them out and going at a faster, higher rate, and gets them to play in transition a little bit more, which is also good for Keyonte. Just being stuck in the half court all the time, making decisions, being the one bringing the ball over the floor is not good. So we'll see. I don't free throws are up. Assists are the same. Last night was a bad shooting night, largely because of the final 10 minutes. But I kind of like what I'm seeing there. All right, Walker. I'm not getting to my NBA team building again today. Walker Kessler's defense is just getting so good. In fact, we'll talk about this on tomorrow's show. Is he the top 10 defensive player in the NBA? Like, who's better? And I have a number for you from last night that's stunning on how good Walker Kessler has become. It's next on Locked On Jazz. Today's edition of Locked On Jazz is brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Such fun. So enjoyable. What a great way to watch a ball game and be involved with it. Prize Picks gives you... Whoa, my shadow just went crazy on my broadcast. There we go. Fix camera. Fix. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made super fun. Basketball season heating up. No better way to get into the action on a nightly basis than with Prize Picks. Diehard fan, friendly competition. Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. Here's how it works. You pick more or less on any two players for a shot to win $1,000 or 1,000 times your cash. So like tonight's games, there's 5 of them. Find the ones you have time to watch you're going to be interested in. The early games are New York, Brooklyn, Portland, Miami, Orlando, Toronto. What do you think Grady Dick's going to do tonight? Pick more or less. Philadelphia, Denver, Washington against the Lakers. What's Kyle Kuzma, the former Ute, going to do in his return to L.A.? Pick more or less. It's that easy. It's that fun. It's that enjoyable. And you can do it in 60 seconds. Now, it's the perfect time to join. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. No need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Every dayers, I love you. Thank you for being a part of the show. You guys can probably hear it. The voice is dying. Let's get some water. I'm looking out to this beautiful, barren landscape. That's why the sun is coming in on me. The view I have from my Oklahoma City hotel room is the top of a storage center, a freeway, and flat, barren, snow-covered land. The beauty, the elegance. I wonder what it's like to live without nature. Just a thought. So, CJ McCollum went bonkers last night, brought the Pelicans back, and the Jazz made an adjustment, and that was to switch 1 through 5. And according to the Second Spectrum data, and I think you can get this on NBA.com too, Walker Kessler defended 6 isolations last night and allowed no points. How great is that? 6 last night and allowed no points. DeJounte Murray scores on Walker in drop coverage on the pick and roll on the final play of regulation, but it's hard to say that's his issue. If you look recently in games the Jazz have played, they have become much more willing to switch Walker. They did it 6 times against Phoenix. He allowed a point per. They did it 6 times against the Knicks. He allowed 0.83. They did it 7 times against Denver. He allowed 1.1 against Philadelphia. They did it 6 times. He allowed 0.4 against Cleveland. He had a tough time at 1.6. But last night was the best defensive night he's had all year. In that, when Walker Kessler guarding in isolation allowed 0.6 or 6 times did not allow a point. For the year, Walker's defended 109 isolations. He's allowing 0.87 points per. It's pretty high in the list, actually, by the way. He's 24th in the league in guarding isolation. So the Jazz have really become willing to have him guard in isolations. If you look at the top 90 guys in the league defending isolation, so it's guys who've defended 77 or 78 isolations a night. Jalen Williams, the big Jalen Williams, not the guard Jalen Williams of Oklahoma City's one. Dyson Daniels is the second best in the NBA. Not a surprise. The big surprise is that James Harden is the fourth best, and Josh Giddey's the fifth best, and Julius Randle is the seventh best. Crazy. So the numbers are a little wonky. They actually will tell you that, you know what, getting a big switch is Walker's in pretty good company. He's there with Jared Allen. He's there with other bigs. The biggest takeaway I have when I look at these isolation defensive numbers is no one wants to switch 1 through 5 because of the fact you don't want to bring the big away from the basket. I would switch more 1 through 5 if I was an NBA team. Secondary rim defenders, we've talked about this a lot. If you're an everyday of Locked On, you've heard the secondary rim defenders are going to be more and more important. Because you switch 1 through 5, the bigs are able to handle, they're so mobile, they're so good, they can handle themselves on the perimeter. They're taking away the 3. They also still take away the rim shot. It's not a good equation for a guard to be driving on a 7-footer. It's just not, unless they're really stationary. The problem is they've pulled your big out of the basket. If that guard's actually smart enough to get off the ball, move it, and then they attack from another spot, your big probably can't get back in time. And so secondary rim defenders like a Taylor Hendricks become really, 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 really important in roster building, like a Giannis when you have Brook Lopez. Fine, Brook Lopez gets switched. Giannis is still back there to help if they move the ball. That's pretty important stuff. Oklahoma City might have it with Jalen Williams. Cleveland certainly has it with Evan Mobley. All right, late game watch last night. Ron and I watched Memphis, Minnesota on the plane last night, and we watched Charlotte against Dallas. The Memphis-Minnesota game is interesting. Minnesota, without Dante DiVincenzo now, are scrambling a little bit late in games to try to figure out what they're doing. Julius Randle was in and out of the lineup last night. He went 2 of 13. Mike Conley is a really hesitant shooter right now. Naz Reid had an out-of-body experience, but that team is really, really close to just being Anthony Edwards and Anthony Edwards only. And Anthony Edwards is not getting very good looks late in games. Minnesota's offense late in games is just simply not getting good looks. Memphis is really interesting because they just spread the floor and drive. They do not play pick and roll. And they're crazy fast coming at you. And then the other thing they do is they'll play Jaren Jackson. We talked about this the last time I watched them late. They'll play Jaren Jackson right block, low post if they have matchups they want. And occasionally a double drag. They're not great either late game, frankly. Their offense is going to struggle. I've yet to see it. Last night, Minnesota fouled like crazy and sent them to the line for 9 free throws. And Minnesota is just making silly plays. Rudy bumps into Desmond Bane on a defensive rebound where Rudy's going for the offensive rebound, and then Desmond Bane gets 2 free throws. Rudy dropped a ball inside the lane and lost it. Rudy played 2 minutes and 48 seconds last night of clutch basketball and got pulled for the final part. He was minus 11 in the 248. It's a problem for them. Jaden McDaniels plays the final 5 minutes and just doesn't take a shot. They go 3 of 8 down the stretch because Naz Reid hit 2 shots, but Anthony Edwards is forcing stuff up, and they don't have anybody else to help. So Minnesota's just, hey, this is great for us, but they have not figured out. I love watching late game because it tells me when I think teams have figured it out and whether they're legitimate contenders, and Minnesota just has not figured this out at all. Memphis, to me, is playing a unique style. They're playing fast. They're doing interesting things. But I'm still unconvinced that they have the answers late in games right now that they need to have. Charlotte-Dallas was interesting because Dallas should have won this game considering they're Dallas and they had Kyrie Irving. Mark Williams and LaMelo Ball are becoming something. I don't know what I think of LaMelo Ball. I said this very clearly after we watched him the other night. It was the strangest experience to watch. But Mark Williams, their center, and LaMelo Ball are becoming something. In the final 5 minutes the other night, they hit each other on a big play. Mark Williams had 3 offensive rebounds. This was really one of the ugliest final 5 minutes of a game I've ever seen. Despite Eric Collins going bonkers on the call, just screaming guys' names all the time. Dallas shot 1 of 12 in the final 5 minutes of this game without Luka. And Charlotte shot 3 of 12. So, and there were 11 offensive rebounds and 9 defensive rebounds. PJ Washington is being asked to kind of make plays. He can't do it. He went 0 for 5. Klay Thompson wasn't on the floor for the all close, which was interesting. And Kyrie was just dancing, going one-on-one, taking really tough looks. It was awful basketball. Dallas's rightful order of the basketball universe is out when PJ Washington has to make plays. I do worry about that, though, for Dallas. I like Dallas a lot. I still think Dallas and Denver are the only teams that can beat Oklahoma City. I don't think either of them can, but the only teams that can. PJ Washington is really, really limited as a playmaker. So that jumped out to me. All right, that is Locked On Jazz today. Tomorrow, is Walker Kessler a top 10 defensive player in the NBA? We'll look at that plus more on today's edition, on tomorrow's edition. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you have not followed me on social, it's DLock09. Please do on any of the accounts: Snap, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter. If you haven't followed the program yet, please subscribe so that you get every episode. Follow if you're on YouTube, hit the bell button. You get notified when we do something, and sign up for the daily newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. We'll now send you the first ever national 24/7 NBA channel, Locked On NBA. Make sure you check out Game Night after all the games every night on Locked On NBA.